this webinar to have a revision for you for the baccalaureate curriculum. At the beginning, allow me to introduce my colleagues in the studio, Ms. Najla Adbesi, English language teacher, Damascus Countryside Directorate.
Good morning.
Good morning. Ms. Mahal Jarkas, English language teacher, Damascus Directorate.
Good morning.
Good morning. And Mr. Mazen Abdul Karim, English language teacher, Damascus Countryside Directorate.
Good morning, everyone.
We hope to give you something beneficial, and you hope you will like it. We're going to start with wish. We're going to focus in this session about grammar in the baccalaureate. We are not going to mention about vocabulary because vocabulary is something you can do alone. Just check the meaning of the word in your mobile dictionary or any kind of dictionary and it will be done. For the grammar, maybe it's a little bit more difficult than vocabulary, so we're going to focus on grammar. We're going to start with Ms. Najla Adbesi. She's going to talk about wish.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Now let us please start with the grammar. And we have here a grammatical rule about wish. As you know, dear students, wish is the opposite of the reality. And if the real sentence is positive, the sentence with wish is negative or something different from the reality. So this is the rule of thinking. The second idea is that the tense with wish goes one tense back. So we have to go one tense back or one step back. The present becomes past and the past becomes past perfect, simple or continuous, according to the original sentence. We have here two examples. Would you please allow me to introduce them? The first one is I am late becomes I wish I wasn't late, or I wish I was early. I forgot about...
And the student can write I were. I
yes,
wish I were.
Yes, both are acceptable. You can use was or were. I forgot about the meeting becomes I wish I hadn't forgotten about the meeting.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Najla. So if I summarize,
yes.
In the exam, the original sentence is present, it becomes past.
Mm-hmm.
The past sentence becomes past perfect, and we need to change the negative to positive, and the positive to negative or to something different from reality. Next slide, Ms. Sabrine, please. We're going to move to in order to, and because. Ms. Maha is going to talk about this, please.
In order to and to have the same function, and they are followed with the infinitive. Mm-hmm. We have an example. We eat to live. Live here is the verb after to, and it's in the infinitive. Or we eat in order to live. Also, live is the verb. So it's in the infinitive. Because is followed with a clause, and here it's important to know what is the clause. The clause must contain a subject and a verb. Without one of them, the clause is wrong.
Thank you.
Example, we exercise because we want to be fit. We want to be fit is the clause that has a subject and a verb.
So cause and result. In order to and to are used for purpose. Because shows the result. Because is followed with a clause. And as you mentioned, the clause must have a subject and a verb. That's why it is named a clause. And it cannot stand alone. If it can stand alone, it will be a sentence. So in the exam, for the baccalaureate students, they need to know what to choose. After in order to and to, we choose the infinitive. After because, we need to choose subject and a verb, a clause. Next, Ms. Sabrine, please. Must and can't be. Must be and can't be. Mr. Mazen Abdul Karim is going to talk about this. Please, stage is yours.
Okay. First of all, we know that must and cannot are modals. So after modals, we have the infinitive or the zero form of the verb. When now the meaning, know that modals have no meaning unless verb comes after them. First one, when we are sure of something that is true, we use must be. Example, she has 3 houses, she must be rich. When we are sure about something which is not true, we use cannot be. Example, she always borrows money from her friends. She cannot be rich.
Thank you. So in the exam, the student may see a sentence like this. She has 3 houses, 2 choices. She must be or can't be rich. Of course, she must be. The student needs to choose must be rich. Next, Ms. Sabrine. We move now to the causative verb have, since in the baccalaureate we have more than actually in grammar verbs for causative issue, but in the baccalaureate the exam questions usually come about have.
Yes.
So we're going to explain about have. Next, Ms. Sabrine. Ms. Najla, stage is yours.
So now let me please introduce the students with the use of have in causative sentences, and we use the causative sentences with verb have to say someone had or didn't have something done, and this can be in the present or past or future.
So we use it to say that someone had or didn't have. This
Yes.
is in the past. Or has or doesn't have.
Yes.
Or will have or will not have. So it's according to the tense, but we need to use the verb have. Yes.
Yes. So now here we have some examples. Samir didn't repair his car himself. In the causative, it will be Samir had his car repaired.
Can
So
we
here
move
Samir,
the slide, Ms. Sabrine, please.
Samir here didn't repair his car himself. He needed someone to repair it. So Samir had his car repaired by another one. Samir repaired his car himself. Now here is a different situation. Samir repaired his car himself, so he didn't need anyone else. Samir didn't have his car repaired.
So for the student, in the exam, he sees the sentence. If it is negative, so he needs to use have in the positive.
Yes.
And if it is positive, he needs to use have in the negative. As you said, Samir didn't repair, so he had his car repaired. But when it is positive, Samir repaired,
Yes.
he didn't have it repaired. Next, Ms. Sabrine, the use. No, we went back. We want to go forward, Ms. Sabrine. Next. Next. No, you are going back. Yes. Now, like this. This can be in the present as well in the future. Again, next slide, Ms. Sabrine, please. Reported speech. Well, Ms. Maha is
Yes.
going to talk about reported speech.
Reported speech is that when we report someone saying starting with he said or he told someone. The reported speech needs to start with a reporting verb, which
Yes.
is here said, told. We go in the reported sentence 1/10 back,
Thank you
which
very
means
much.
the present becomes past. Example, we have I am hungry is a direct speech. In the reported speech, it becomes he said he was hungry. The verb am in the direct sentence became was, which is reported. We also change the pronouns. Here we have I, it becomes he or she. Possessive pronoun, my becomes your becomes my, or his or her, and so on.
Yes.
Everything near becomes far. Like this becomes that. Here becomes there. Today becomes that day. Tomorrow becomes
Next
this.
slide, Ms. Sabrine, please. So, for the reported speech,
Yes.
we report someone else's speech using he or she said, or they said, whatever it is. What the student needs to do in the exam is to go 1/10 back, because the introductory is in the past, he said. We are not going to explain everything because we are focusing on what the student is going to face in the exam. Sorry. First, the tense goes one step back. what we change usually, the pronoun and everything near adverbs for the place or the time, everything near, they become far.
Yes.
And you mentioned here becomes there, this becomes that, today becomes that day, tomorrow becomes the next day or the following day, yesterday becomes the day before. Next slide, Ms. Sabrine. Now we move to reported questions with Mr. Mazen Abdul Karim.
Yes.
How many types of questions do we have?
Yeah, in English we have two types, WH question and yes/no questions. Let's start with WH. When we report WH question, we start the question with he or she asked or wanted to know. Then if the auxiliary is, do, does, or did, we drop it. Other auxiliaries go after the subject, like in the positive sentence, we drop the question mark and we put full stop at the end of reported question. Example, direct question, where do you live? It becomes in the reported
So
question.
let's imagine that the student now is in the exam.
Yes.
The direct question
is
where do you live? He
So-
needs to drop do.
Yes, and the question mark.
Yes.
Yes, and also the same rule.
The pronoun.
Yes, the pronoun, and we goes back. We go one tense back.
One step back. Okay.
Yes.
So we start with he asked.
He asked me where
You becomes me.
No, I'm sorry. It depends on the.
In this
Yes.
sentence, where
Yes.
do you live?
Yes.
He asked
He
me.
asked me where I live, but
Where
if,
I live.
he asked her, for example.
Yeah, we
where-
change according,
we change
yes,
according to the sentence.
Introductory.
Introductory.
Next slide, Ms. Sabrine, please. Will you please continue?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
no
no
questions.
questions. In this case, we use if or whether. Direct question, can you swim? It becomes in the reported questions, he asked me if I could swim. So we change can into could, and we also, the order of the sentence, it becomes like the positive sentence.
The affirmative case.
Affirmative or statement, and we just forget about the question mark.
So,
Yes.
in the exam,
Yes.
this student may see, can you swim?
Yes.
As a sentence, and he will be asked to report it, and he will be given the introductory, he asked me. Since it is he asked me, the pronoun you is going to be according to me, which is I. He asked me. Immediately when we don't have a question word, we need to use if or whether.
Or whether.
If is easier, so we can depend on if more as students because it's easier. He asked me if. You becomes I. Can you in the question form becomes you can. And since we're going to change you to I and to go one step back with the tense, can becomes could, and the sentence will be he asked me if I could swim. Continue, please.
Reported question, direct question, do you speak English? Reported questions, she asked me if I spoke English. So we drop the auxiliary verb do, and we change speak into the simple past spoke. Direct question, another example, did you do your homework? So here we have to notice that the second do, or yes, it is not auxiliary, it's here a verb, like ordinary verb. So we have to change it into the past perfect because we have it in the simple past. He asked me if I had done my homework.
And students here need to notice that sometimes they think that it is always in the simple past. They need to notice that when the direct sentence is in the past, like the question in the past, did is past, so we need to go to the past perfect. Did you do your homework? He asked me if, not I did, he asked me if I had done my homework.
Yes.
Next, Ms. Sabrine, please. We move to the passive voice.
Yes.
We are going to go to Ms. Najla Dbesi.
Yes.
She's going
Of
to talk
course,
about
it's a very important rule in the baccalaureate course. The passive voice, we use it we use the passive form when we don't know the subject or we want to focus on the object because it is more important. And of course, there must be an object in the sentence. So if we don't have an object, we cannot turn or change the sentence or the statement into passive. Now, the question is, how do we change an active sentence into passive? Of course, we have here many steps. The first one, we put the object at the beginning. As you know, the object comes at the end of the sentence. Here, the first step is to put it at the beginning of the new sentence.
So this is the first step, to put the object at the beginning.
Yes. We change the main verb into verb 3 or past participle form.
So these two things are the same with all tenses. The object at the beginning and the verb into verb 3.
Yes, this is the essential. Yes.
These two things, they don't change.
Yes.
We change just verb to be according to the tense.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, between them, we put verb to be as follows.
Next slide, Ms. Sabrin. Yes. Simple present tense.
The first case is when the original sentence in simple present tense. So we put am, is, or are before the object. Before the past participle verb. Example, he eats an apple. This is the active sentence. It becomes an apple is
let's clarify, Ms. Najla, please.
Yes.
The student now is in the exam. He sees, he eats an apple. What is the object?
Apple.
An
or
apple.
an apple, yes.
And the verb is eats. Eats is going to be verb 3, eaten.
Eaten, yes.
And an apple is going to be at the beginning.
Yes.
An apple, eaten. Between them, we're going to use verb to be according to the object which has become the subject.
Yes, an apple is a singular noun, so we use is. And if it were plural, we use are.
So if the sentence, the first sentence, the active sentence was he eats apples, it will be apples are
eaten by Sam. Yes. Notice, when the subject is definite, we put it at the end of the sentence, preceded with by.
Yes. So we mean by definite something known. For example, Mazin or Najla or Syrian engineers. Something important. We cannot avoid it. We need to mention it.
Yes.
We put it at the end of the passive sentence preceded with by. Next slide, Miss. We'll move to Miss Maha.
Yes, we have
simple
another
past.
example. He ate apples.
This is in the simple past tense.
Yes, ate is a simple past verb. Apples is the object. We put apples at the beginning and we used were as verb to be because the verb is ate in the past simple. Then we used eat in the past participle or verb 3, eaten. So it becomes apples were eaten.
So what we changed is verb to be. In the present simple, we said we use am or is or are. In the simple past, we use was or were.
Yes.
The object apples came to the beginning, and the verb ate or eats in the present will move to be in the past participle. So apples eaten, they don't change. We just change the verb to be. And if it is a present simple, we use either am or is or are. This is past simple, we use was or were. Since here it's not an apple, it's apples, we put were instead of was. Apples were eaten. Continue, please.
Another tense is the present continuous and the past continuous. We put being after verb to be. We have an example. He is eating an apple. An apple is being eaten. And we have to be careful here because the tense is present continuous, which is or verb to be with the verb added to it ing. We can't forget ing.
Yes.
And as the main verb in the sentence must be in the past participle, so we add ing to be. So it becomes an apple is being eaten. Being is verb to be for the passive voice.
Thank you. Again, for the student, in the exam, if the student sees he is eating an apple, the object is an apple, we put it at the beginning. The verb is eating. The past participle of eating is eaten. We put it. And we put verb to be because it is present continuous. we need to put verb to be according to the object which has become the subject. An apple is singular. We need to put is. After is, with all continuous sentences, present or past, we need to use being. Thank you. We move to the past.
Tom was eating apples. Apples were being eaten by Tom.
Here, Tom is a proper noun. It's important. We cannot avoid it. So we put it at the end of the sentence preceded with by. Next, Miss Sabrine, we come to Mr. Mazen Abdul Karim, the present perfect and past perfect.
Yes, the present perfect and the past perfect, we put being after verb to have. So the rule becomes, for example, object plus have or has or had, according to the tense,
Yes.
plus being plus the past participle, or as we always say, verb 3. Yes. Example, he has eaten apples. It becomes in the passive, apples have been eaten. Past
So,
perfect.
Mr. Mazen Abdul Karim, since it is he has eaten apples, why did we change it to have?
Excellent. A good question. So most students have to notice that the object is the things that decide whether to use have or has.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yes. So we use have. Although it is has in the active, in the passive, it has become have because apples is plural.
Yes.
And we need to put have, then we put been, then verb 3 eaten. In the past perfect,
Past
the same.
perfect. Sam had eaten an apple. So here it doesn't matter whether the object is singular or plural because we have only had. An apple had been eaten by Sam.
Thank you. Next slide, Miss Sabrine. We come back to Miss Najla.
Yes, now
Your
the
turn.
following one is about the future tense, and with auxiliary verbs, we put be after the auxiliary verb, because after modals we know that we use the infinitive.
Yes, thank you so
It's
much
a
for
rule.
saying this.
Yes, now let me please introduce some examples. He will eat apples, and here we have he is the subject, will is the modal verb, eat is the infinitive verb. Now, apples is plural, is the object. So apples we will put it at the beginning of the sentence, and please, dear students, note that we will use will after the object, and after will we use be in the infinitive form, then the past participle of the verb eat, it will be eaten. So apples will be eaten. Sam can eat a lot of apples. A lot of apples here is the object, so we put it or change the position of it. We put it at the beginning of the sentence. It will be a lot of apples can be eaten by Sam, the same system. Tom must eat apples. Also, apples must be eaten by Tom. So,
Thank you.
yes.
Thank you. It's very easy, as we said. The object becomes at the beginning. The verb changes into verb 3. Between them, we use in the present simple am or is or are. In the past simple, we use was or were. In the continuous, present continuous or past continuous, we use being after
yes.
verb to be. In the present perfect and past perfect, we use
Been.
been.
Yes.
And future and all modals, we use be after them. That's why we change into passive. It's easy. If the subject is important, the doer of the action is important, we put it at the end, preceded with by. Next slide, Ms. Sabrine, the use of the.
Yes. That is used before nouns, first of all, with a noun of which there's only one of it.
So now we're going to help the students to know when to use the. First case, when there is only one of it.
Like the sun.
The sun, the moon, the earth, the president, yes.
With a noun which by reason of locality is considered one, like the prime minister, the teacher.
We mean by reasons of locality that in the place we are talking at that
yes.
moment.
Yes.
So in the classroom, the teacher is only one. The board in a classroom is only one, although we have a lot of boards.
They
in the
will
school,
understand.
they will
what
know
we
which one.
are talking about.
And
Yes.
if I summarize to the student in the exam, we put the. If we see that someone will say which one do you mean, so that is wrong to be
Yes,
used.
we omit.
But if it is clear, no one is going to say which one. Like, let me give an example. If I say, I bought the car, you will say which car. But if I say, I bought a car, it's okay. Then when I mention it a second time, I say, the car is red. You're not going to say which one,
Yes,
because you know
because
already.
I already know.
Yeah, continue, please.
Yes. With a noun mentioned a second time, like I bought a car, the car is red, and with a noun which has become definite by the addition of a phrase or a clause. The girl in blue, the man who answered the phone.
So the girl is indefinite, but when we added in blue, we made it clear to the listener, so we can use that. And the man alone is not clear, but when we add who answered the phone, we made it clear by adding this clause, so we can use that in this case. Next slide, Ms. Sabrine, 5.
With musical instruments after the verb play, like she plays the piano, she plays the violin.
Yeah, the violin.
The violin, yes. With superlatives.
With superlatives,
The best.
the most.
With names of countries which consist of more than one word. Like
Yes.
the United Kingdom, the United States, the United Arab Emirates. But when we have Syria, when we have Jordan, we don't add that.
Yes. Sometimes we can put the with a name of a country which is only one word. It will not come in the baccalaureate. I usually give the same example every time I show up. If I am Syrian and I travel to another place, I stayed there for 10 years, for example. When I come back, everything will be changed. So I can say, this is not the Syria I knew.
Yes.
Something different. But in the exam, it will not come this way. And in the exam, that usually comes as missing word.
Yes.
As a missing word. And we can, as students, see if it is clear to the reader or the listener which one we mean, we put that. Now we move to the use of a and an with Mr. Mazin Abdul Karim.
Yes, thank you. We know that a and an are used as indefinite article. Oh, sorry. We use a and an for to be used as indefinite article. We only use a and with singular. So when we have a plural, we cannot use a or an. Or with uncountable nouns also, we cannot use a and an. Example, we cannot say in English, I need a water, but we can say, I need the water. We can say this if we make water definite. A with consonant, and you know, when we have a, we have after a, we have consonants. Example, a book, a teacher, etc. And with the vowels, you know the vowels, A, E, I, O, U.
Yes. Do we mean by vowels the name or the sound?
The sound, for sure, the sound.
So
Because
if the sound is a,
yes,
it's a vowel.
yes. For
Because
example,
An hour, for example.
Yeah.
We started by writing the letter H,
H, but we mentioned
pronounced
a.
it the
Yes.
O.
So we
Uni-
say an hour.
university, we cannot say an university because the sound is not a vowel. We use a and an with the singular countable indefinite nouns of which there are more than one and mentioned for the first time.
So this rule can summarize all the usage of a and an. Singular,
countable, indefinite nouns.
of which there are more than one, because as we mentioned with the when we have only one, it should be the. And mentioned for the first time, because when you mention something a second time, it will be clear.
Yes. Example, a boy, an apple, a car, an umbrella. With profession, for example, what do you do? I am a teacher. So we have to use a. What do you do? I am an engineer. So we have to use an with the profession.
A teacher, an engineer.
An engineer,
Yes.
yes.
To mean pair.
Pair.
Sometimes we use a or an to mean pair.
Yes.
Like
5 pounds a kilo.
it means the price per kilo
Yes.
is 5 pounds.
50 kilometers an hour.
Yes.
Per hour. Number 4, we use
With
an
meals.
with meals when preceded with an adjective. Example, I had a delicious breakfast.
Yes. So when the meal doesn't have an adjective, we don't use any articles. We can say, I had breakfast.
Yes.
But when we have an adjective preceding the meal, we need to use a definite article. So I had a delicious breakfast. Next, Ms. Sabrine.
I think it's what's the last one?
Yes.
In the first...
We are going to a short break, let's say 10 minutes, and after that we're going to continue. So don't be away.